Hey, everybody, Jim Cummings here. And if Tigger were here, he'd say, thanks, everybody, for bouncing on in here and enjoying the show. But before we go, I want you to do me a small favor. Hit like, subscribe, and give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying the show. Now, speaking of enjoying the show, enjoy the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tuned In with Jim Cummings. We have a really good episode coming up for you today. Our guest is none other than Cam Clarke. How are you doing today, sir?
Cam Clarke is here? How did you get him?
It was very difficult.
I hear he's a real diva, yeah? Heads up, don't look him in the eyes. He hates that.
Okay. Hi, up there, ceiling where no one is. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, Jimbo.
How about that?
Good to be with you again.
Who better than us, says I.
Say I as well.
Yeah, it didn't take much figuring out, but I have known you. You and I are tied. Well, how am I? I'm putting this incorrectly, aren't I?
We're tied for most.
For most longest knowage. So, we took the first thing I ever did in this area of the business, other than play drums or sing somewhere in a strip joint in New Orleans. Was with you. You were in the strip joint. Actually, no. You were in Sue Blue and Andrea Romano's voiceover acting class, and we met there.
And you were this weird guy who
always had drumsticks, and I don't have them today.
What is that about?
I feel naked, but I left them at home, so you're safe. But yeah, I mean, you are like the first guy that I ever met in showbiz.
And you still stayed in the industry. And this is the kind of people I'm going to have to work with.
Yes, and fortunately, we worked a great deal together.
Yes.
And we were even brothers. Can you name that series where Cam and Jim were brothers? And yes, I was the older one then, too. The California Raisins.
And I don't know if we touched on this on our last interview, but we were both fired.
Really?
You don't recall this?
I don't. I'm sure I blocked it out. It was a tragic moment in my history.
There was a thing about,
right.
Because the music was Motown.
Right. I do. I know what you're talking about.
What are these white dudes? And like people went, well, if you want to be technical, raisins started out green and they end up purple. Or it's like.
Yeah.
So they dropped us, but they allowed us to re-audition.
Yes, without names.
We use numbers.
That's right.
With
I forgot about that.
Slew of new people.
Yeah.
And we still
we still made it. I remember sitting on the couch in Wave Studio. Yes. And then I went to a studio and I was sitting there waiting, and I looked in the studio. Nobody was there. But there was a lady sitting on the couch and down at the other end, and her phone rang. She goes, "Yeah, hi. No, he's not here. I don't know where he is. All right. Well, I'll let you know. God, when is Jim Cummings going to get here?" Oh. And I went, "Oh, did you say Jim Cummings?" She goes, "Oh yeah. Oh, well, I'm Jim Cummings." She goes, "You're the nice black man on the tape?" And I went,
"Oh, I've not heard that, Jim.
Isn't that great?" Yeah. And I said, "Yeah."
That is the best.
Yeah, I've been out of the sun for a while. I don't know. What do you say to that?
Do you remember?
But the
when
idea,
you tap danced, what did you do?
I think it was for the Raisins.
Well, yeah, no, but I mean, how did you say yes?
Yeah.
I mean, what did he?
Oh, well, yeah.
You just said, "I'm Jim Cummings. I can't respond to that."
She said, "I don't know when Jim Cummings is going to get here." And I go, "Well, he's me, if that helps, because we're sitting about the same here as we are here." She goes, "You're the nice black man on the tape?" And I go, "Sure, why not?" I thought I was a raisin. I thought I was purple.
Yep.
But here we are.
At this age, I bruise very easily now, so
yes, that's
I am
true.
becoming purple.
That's true. I gave blood yesterday, and I have a blood blister.
Becoming purple. That could be the name of my autobiography, if I didn't already have one.
I was going to say, wait a minute. Did you say autobiography?
What?
A biography about a car? No.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? For those of you who don't know, Cam is show business royalty. He comes from a
That's why you don't look at me in the eye.
A dynasty family. That's right. That's why I'm looking over here at the coffee machine. But it's true. And why? It just so happens we have a book. Wait, hold on there.
Hang
Who's
on.
this little fella?
Who did that?
There he is.
Baby Cam is.
Look at that. Boop, boop,
There I am.
boop,
Boop, boop.
Bip, bip. How about that, folks? Very cool. How cool is that to be able to write a book about your family? See, I did that too, and they went, no, go away, stop.
And this isn't your first time writing a book, right? You've written books before?
Before voiceovers, what I was planning on pursuing, I wanted to be an illustrator of children's books, and author.
Wow.
I
didn't know that.
Yeah. I did a one and like cartoons as well, not like comic book, but I had a book in the 80s came out that did rather well called How to Be a Total Californian. And it was an 80s kind of not as quirky as Gary Larson, but it did
that's
well.
cool.
One-liners with like
And you
his
got the
stuff.
word total in there too.
Yeah, it was
almost very close to totally.
Yeah, totally.
Totes.
How to be a total
How
Californian.
to be a totes.
And but as far as book, no, this is my first like that. But I had a line of greeting cards and
Nice. So what was the motivation for this book?
Wow.
vanity. And I'll explain.
I've heard of that.
There was a coffee table book, not unlike this, coffee table size, that came out about Bob Mackie. And for those of you who don't know who that is, he is probably the most prolific, successful Hollywood costume designers. Cher, Carol Burnett, Diana Ross.
Oh, I didn't know
Bernadette
Carol Burnett was in
Peters.
there. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, the whole run of the series. That famous costume of hers as Scarlett O'Hara with wearing the curtain rod. As you know, I made this outfit out of drapes. That was his idea. Anyway, we were his first series. He'd been assistant on, I think, like Judy Garland's series, some other stuff as, second in command. We were his first. And this coffee table book came out about him. And we had a page. And that's not an ego thing. I mean,
Cool.
Cher and Carol Burnett are kind of bigger than we are, right?
No, not bad.
And we had a page. The person that wrote it said a joke about us that my fragile eagle. Wow. Well, that's Freudian. My fragile eagle.
How is the old eagle?
My fragile ego took offense to. It talked about how we went on the air and, the zeitgeist of white America, end of Camelot, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
And they ended up, I'm paraphrasing, but they ended up in the unemployment line, as in never to be heard of again. And I took offense, but I went, but look how cool we look in a fancy, fancy color book.
Yes.
And I went, I don't think so. And I started out thinking it was just, I was going to, for history's sake, was going to put something together for my family and maybe, big fans.
Beef up
and just
the family
do a fancy
reunion.
Shutterfly thing. Well, that grew into this, and 4 years.
It's a lot of growth.
In the making. Yeah.
Wow.
Steroids.
Really?
Autobiography
4
on
years?
steroids.
Jeez, wow.
And I had read a book on Truman Capote by George Plimpton, who is one of my favorite authors. And in the beginning of it, he says, if you're looking for a straight-up biography of Capote, I recommend, and then he lists these other books and their authors, like, go over there. This one, there is no narrator. I have just compiled and done interviews with people from his life. And it is chronological. So he says, Imagine yourself at a cocktail party, drifting from conversation to conversation. So I went, I love that. So imagine yourself at a 4th of July picnic, and you're drifting from picnic table to picnic table. So as the subtitle on this is, and I have to look it up, over 100 years of entertainment from America's first family of song. 100 years. We started in 1925.
Over 100, wow.
In vaudeville. So the book itself is all first person. Fortunately, the moms, the King sisters, who were a famous singing group on their own right, which is why we even exist.
That's right.
They did diaries, they did journals. So it's a century of first person.
I don't think anybody else can say that. Is there anybody else that can make that statement you just made?
You have the Barrymores, which...
Yeah, but they're not still...
Right.
Well, I guess Drew...
Well, no, Drew is working, but this book is I, me, we. Like, I don't speak until the 1960s.
Right.
Because I wasn't there.
You weren't born.
So this is
That'll do it every time.
Yeah. yeah. And as it is, and then it goes on. I'm the last one of having had a solo career, which there are chapters on those that have, which is still going on in animation and video games. So you start with vaudeville, you go to radio, you go to big band, you go to jazz, you go to television, you got your sci-fi motion pictures with Dad.
That's right.
You got your sitcoms with My Cousin Tina Cole. Alvino Ray was one of the granddaddies, invented the slide guitar.
Right. Yeah. Does everybody know who that guy is? Because he's pretty damn cool.
He is. I mean, he's in the museum as Mount Rushmore of guitarists.
How about that?
He worked with Fender directly, trying to... reorganize and make. In fact, he had a joke.
As in every guitar player you have ever seen's amplifier Fender, by the way.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact,
in case you didn't know,
when they would, on our show, on the King family show, when they would reel in his slide guitar, he had a joke. I didn't get it as a kid, and if you've never seen a slide guitar, he says it's a contraption. Mm-hmm. And he said this joke.
Really cool one.
I started building this in high school, started out as a sugar scoop, which is a little metal thing that you've built in, metal shop to get sugar, da-da-da. Anyway, I didn't get the reference, but if you see a slide guitar, it is a piece of work. Mm-hmm. And he had part of his act on the radio and live was he had a character named Stringy, who he would use the slide guitar, and I still don't know the mechanics. You might as a musician. His wife would be backstage, who was part of the band, Louise, Aunt Louise, King's sister. She would wear something called a Sonovox. And through the sliding, it would talk because she is going like this backstage. And like he did, he had a bit.
This sounds like sorcery to me.
Yeah.
Kill that phone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Out, damn phone.
Yeah, sorry. That was me.
And so he had a bit called Babysitter Blues that he did with the guitar, with the slide guitar.
Wow.
And he had to babysit the slide guitar. So he's using that metal slide thing. I don't know what that's called.
Slide.
And,
it's a metal slide. They make them in glass too.
Oh, do they?
They do.
Well, he would use that, and he'd talk to his guitar, and the guitar would say, "I want my mama." And he did this comedy, almost like Edgar Bergen, right? With Charlie McCarthy.
Yeah.
Except he wasn't, his wife was backstage wearing this thing. And it's a bit he had in the act since the 30s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds
in fact, I should probably post a bit of Alvino
Are
doing.
you wearing one right now? I see you clutching the pearls. So I don't. What's going on here?
They make them invisible now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyway, so Alvino was an inventor. My uncle Jim, who has a Step Out chapter, founded the Grammy Awards. Founded Warner's Records. And
that's not bad.
Not bad, right? And so the King sisters were asked to do a benefit, a fundraiser. And my Aunt Yvonne said, here's a wacky idea. Why don't we let's just toss the kids into the act.
Sure.
Just for shits and giggles.
Wow.
And
how did that work out?
Well, I'll tell you,
please,
my good man. Back in the 50s, maybe the 40s as well, a lot of the children in recordings were just like the kids of the celebrities.
Oh.
And when they needed kids on albums, you call in these particular kids. So my older cousins were already in the recording business in a fashion. Like for those of you who are into your mid-century albums and such, my cousins and others were with Doris Day on Que Sera, Frank Sinatra's High Hopes, which has a children's choir.
High hopes. Okay, yeah.
You've got high apple pie in the sky hopes.
Boom, boom.
Yes.
Good.
And so they are the kids for that.
Wow.
So Uncle Jim would come home from the office and go, hey, girls, we have a session Friday night with Tex Ritter, with Doris Day, And like Jamie, as I mentioned earlier, I said that this is all first person. So each one of my cousins also tells when they joined the history of entertainment, they speak. Not me.
That's great.
And my cousin Jamie, she tells a story how, Dad, I have a school dance Friday night. I don't want to.
I don't want to go and be famous.
And go sing and make money.
Wait a minute.
And he would literally go, oh, okay. And of course, she jokes about, seriously, self?
What? Yeah, no kidding.
And my cousin Zan.
What? And give up showbiz?
Yeah. And she has these wonderful memories of being a kid with these performers and behind the scenes things of who had to have every note plunked out and who was great with kids. Like she said, Glenn Campbell, who was part of the Wrecking Crew.
Oh, that's right. Very famous.
And the Wrecking Crew was the group at Capitol, or did they travel?
I don't know, but you should tell people who the Wrecking Crew was.
Help me out here. The Wrecking Crew was like...
Hal Blaine, the drummer. And then, oh God, Tony Esposito, the guitar player.
You got me.
Played on every beach. They were the Beach Boys.
Yeah, but they
were everybody.
Started with more of some of the older stars. It started in the you're right. But in the 60s, of course, Doris Day, Frank Sinatra, Tex Ritter, they're still in the thick of it. They're still, adult contemporary, I guess. And she talked about Glenn, who was just part of the Wrecking Crew at the time, and how he would go out of his way to entertain the kids between takes and stuff, and how wonderful he was, and how very cool, not like in a good way, but how cool Doris Day was. And in fact, one of our cousins who wasn't on the session date came just to watch, and
why not?
Doris would not let her be not only not in the studio, but not in the booth. She had to sit in the lobby. So these are stories from a kid's perspective that you're not going to get anywhere.
No, like anywhere at all.
Yeah.
But here. Wow, that's pretty damn cool. Yeah. What that's, see, like my family, it's like Well, Grandpa was fired from the steel mill. That's it. All done. That's all you need to know. Wow. Man, that's an amazing thing. There's not, and who would you compare your background to? Slightly Osmondy?
Yes. I mean,
I would think, yeah.
In fact, I mean, there were 36 of us in.
Okay, you win.
As you'll see, what was I saying?
You were talking about being fabulous.
No, I talk about that all the time.
Not Osmondy.
Oh. So we are both the Osmond brothers, and we are playing Vegas at the same time.
Aha.
And we're on the same episode.
That already doesn't sound right. Playing where? In the middle of Sinville, USA?
Right? I mean, on one hand, how does the King family... Well, no, Osmonds too. They were huge in Vegas, and they were squeaky clean.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down. Mm-hmm. They were amazing musicians and dancers, everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're on the same episode of whatever local talk show doing PR for being there. And, it's, so, Donnie, how many instruments do you play? And, when we rehearse, this is every day we get up at this time, blah, 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 like Olympians,
Yeah, yeah.
And I play these many instruments.
He was a spark plug, wasn't he?
Yeah. And it comes our turn, and we're like, well, yeah, we don't want to over-rehearse. Seriously. I took piano lessons for 5 years, and I think all I can play is the Knuckles song.
Oh, that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
That old chestnut.
Not even chopsticks?
Yes. And the left hand to Heart and Soul. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Boink, boink, boink.
Yes. And so we're kind of sitting there with egg on our face and fingers up our noses.
Well, it could have been in a worse place. Could have been worse. Come on.
Depending on how you like stuff.
Yeah, but
what? I don't even know what I just said.
I don't either.
And in fact, we younger kids wish we had, because we were so young when we started, that we were just like little monkeys and just toss these 5 and 6 year olds out on stage, and they're already darling. And we would crack up in the middle of a number, and that was part of the appeal, right?
I would think, yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing the show.
Well, but as you grow out of your monkey years, someone...
It'll happen eventually, one of these days.
Well, people relied on our monkeydom, and because I've seen, of course, like I've gone over our shows with a magnifying glass, right? And as we get older and you're, say you're 10 in there, you're not monkey cute anymore. And no one is going, kids, smile, okay? All right, we're going to go in 5, 4, 3. Remember to smile. That didn't happen. And I even, so when you're on the show every week.
So what was the result of that? I mean,
well,
how
I
bad
see
could
it
it be?
as not as well performed. Because we are not in monkey phase where you just smile anyway. And I see times where, it's like, Cam.
sitting there going like,
yeah, Cam, don't be thinking about lunch.
Yeah.
And in fact, because when we were on the series, our first series, we went to studio school, and you're on the set every day.
Sure.
So you had your assistant directors and the script people to go over the lines with the kids. Your parents are working like crazy.
Well, they're working.
And in fact, because of the child labor laws, we could only work so many hours.
Oh, okay.
Kids in film and television, and I imagine theater as well, you can only work so many hours, and then they'll, drag you off set for a good reason. because there was so much abuse in the early days of film and such.
I think Shirley Temple inspired that, wasn't she?
Coogan.
Jackie Coogan.
Jackie Coogan.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
But it is black and white, which does not take into fact the spirit of the law. So you were, if you screw up and you're going to take another take, and it's blank, it's something o'clock. You're out of the number.
Wow.
Anyway, and which I will sidestep to say that when we did our last Christmas special, I am 17. So I'm still on the clock. It's a Christmas special. We taped it, I think, in October. My birthday, I think you're a Scorpio too, am I right?
Yeah. November
When's your birthday?
3rd.
I'm November 6th.
Yeah.
How I have room for your birthday in my brain when I could use it to find my keys.
Yeah. Understood.
Out, birthday.
Yeah. There's my keys.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like 2 months from my 18th birthday where I'm legal. Of course, you're running behind in schedule, whatever. There's a number that I'm supposed to be in, but the clock runs out. Now, I'm with my family. I'm 17 and 10 months years old. I mean, and the teacher on the set was like, nope. So there was no guys, his birthday's in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's my family. It's not even like we're getting paid, but I'm not a hired hand. Mm-hmm. And it was a men's number. It was my uncles and my cousins and my brothers. So it was like being ripped out of a birthday party, if you will.
Sure.
Because our time to get there was never work.
Yeah, that's right.
But to get back
Probably
to
felt like monkey hour with your...
It was monkey
family.
Hour. Welcome to the King family with monkey hour.
Yes, why not?
So when we were little, there were so many people to help us learn our lines. I remember on our Christmas special, which for whatever reason, the parents were supposed to do that stuff as far as lines. Mm-hmm. And I would say I was raised by wolves, but that would imply a lot more structure and form.
Oh, I see.
So
okay,
my intro, I'm supposed to introduce this number that my mom's about to sing in this Christmas special. And the script supervisor or whoever, or dad, I don't know, goes, oh, yeah, honey, here, that's your intro for Mom. I'm 10.
Perfect. And you're sitting there, huh?
So if you watch this intro, if you catch some of the clips of the old show, there's the cue cards, and I sound like one of the Charlie Brown kids. Hi, I'm Cam, and my brother Rick is going to sing a song. My mother, and that's my mother Alice, and she's going to sing a song. And
Perfect.
it's like, if someone had given these lines to me, I don't know, even the day before.
Yeah, an hour before, maybe.
Yeah. It just sounded like this. And I can remember another special where I've got this special poem that I'm supposed to have written, a goofy, poem.
Oh, really?
And I am reading it like this. And I've got the paper, but I haven't even looked at it.
It was from your heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where?
It's
with my heart is with my keys.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Jesus. Well, that's good. Well, good. So there was no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure. No, there was no pressure. Right? What? And give up showbiz?
Exactly.
Oof. Wow. Well, you probably, given your background, was there ever a time when you said, I'd like to grow up and own a general store, or I want to sell shoes?
Think.
Or was there ever any doubt? Yeah.
As I said earlier,
it's a single syllable answer.
I did want to pursue. My other love was art.
Oh, so not selling shoes.
I mean, selling. Working at Wesley's shoe store and selling PF flyers. How old are you to know what PF Flyers
Run a
are?
little faster.
They made a little
jump
comeback when I was in high school.
Higher in your PF Flyers.
What'd you say?
I said they made a little comeback when I was in high school. I don't know.
Did they?
I don't know if people
PF
are still.
Flyers?
Yeah, PF Flyers. I had a pair.
Oh, wow. Well, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah, they were
good.
like the.
And Keds that stop, what was
yeah.
it, stop on a dime? Like
I
you can
think
run,
so,
run,
yeah.
and they stop on a dime because of their rubber soles
Yeah.
or something. But we digress.
We do. I just had lunch.
Yeah, I'll be digressing that
I'll
soon.
be digressing.
Again, what were we talking about? Jeez,
Probably
guys.
your book. Have
Oh,
you written
career,
a book?
doing things.
So
I went
I'll
to-
always go back to the book.
So I went to Parsons School of Design.
Oh,
And art school is hard.
really?
And expensive, man. And I hadn't worked since I was a kid. I'd done some commercials and stuff. And I was living at home. And I was the first class of Parsons, which is was a New York design school. They bought a fine art school called Otis in Los Angeles. So I was the first class, 30 kids, 30 students, chosen for Parsons Design Center.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Dean's List, blah, blah, blue. I applied for a loan. And they said, yeah, but you live alone. I'm sorry, you live at home. I went, yes, because I don't have the rent money really.
That's why
I'm at home. Yeah, well, because you live at home. I went, let me get this straight. If I go spend money and get an apartment, then you'll give me money. Art school is boring now. And I eventually dropped out because my brother Ricky, who was still in the business, and now he was behind the camera as an associate producer at Warner Brothers, he said, hey, Cam, we have this thing called looping.
Oh.
And I can put you in the loop group.
I've heard of that.
Have you ever done
Some.
group
Yeah,
stuff?
some.
Maybe on some animated
With,
features? Or?
maybe Lorraine Newman and...
Yeah. On like some animated features?
Yeah.
Well, for those of you that don't know, it's different than your animation or anime
Yes.
or radio, TV spots and stuff.
It's kind of fun.
Oh, it's actually a whole different animal.
It is. Yeah.
In post-production is where they lay in fight grunts. Is where
Yes, that's
they
right.
lay in, 1 out of 40, we have your suspect on Route 9, please respond.
Yes, that's right. And crowd scenes.
Crowds, football games, locker rooms, sports bars, whatever it is, all the extras, they're just mouthing stuff. Because when you go from your master shot to your close-up, you're going to hear a bump in sound. If anyone is also talking a din in the background. And it's likewise, I'm going to ruin your watching movies now.
That's right.
Why it is
And it's
that
kind of
people
like
never dance.
vocal camouflage, isn't it?
Yes. And it's why nobody dances in time. Because there is no music playing. Because when you cut from shots to shots, there's a bump. And although you have your script supervisor who's going to go, no, Jim, your hand was, your arm goes here and you've moved it. Just remember this.
Oh, yeah. That's
Music,
right.
they can't
Continuity.
at the nanosecond get bar 36 to fall organic, or when you're being organic with your line delivery, to fall in that nanosecond.
Yeah.
So if you watch a dance scene in a movie, unless it's a musical, no one is in time, or the clapping gets off. Because there is no music.
Wow.
So again,
because you'd never pick up on that if you were just watching.
No, so you're welcome.
So,
And of course, I always am aware that.
And you're hyper aware at this point.
Yeah, especially when I'm there and there now is music, and we're supposed to be the people in the cowboy bar, whatever, clapping to the music or whatever it is, and we have to juggle with a picture we're trying to stay in time with whatever the music is, but sometimes we have to go like this to catch the picture. And then when we cut away from the crowd, we can be back in rhythm. So all that stuff is laid down after the fact. And that's where I started in voice.
Wow.